Australia and China are pledging to strengthen bilateral ties from trade to tourism. Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi is in Australia for a series of talks on how to improve the relationship and deal with the uncertainty surrounding the United States. CGTN's Greg Navarro now reports.
They posed for pictures and allowed cameras to catch a brief glimpse. But most of the meetings between Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi and his Australian counterpart Julie Bishop took place behind closed doors, where they focused on trade.
At a time of economic transition and uncertainty around the world, Australia reassures China that we are a reliable partner and that we will continue to place a strong trade and economic relationship as one of our highest priorities.
The foreign ministers also talked about the China-Australia Free Trade Agreement, now a little more than a year old, and how both countries can continue to benefit.
On the 1st of January this year, there was the third round of tariff cuts, and the Minister and I have committed to ensuring that the Free Trade Agreement continues to grow and we will move into the next phase of its implementation.
Wang Yi's visit coincides with the 45th anniversary of diplomatic ties between the two countries. Today, China is Australia's #1 trading partner. To help underscore China's economic importance to Australia, last year two-way trade between both countries was worth about 150 billion Australian dollars. The meetings in Canberra also addressed the uncertainty surrounding a new U.S. administration. China's foreign minister said both countries need to take a firm stand against all forms of protectionism. At the time when we face an international situation, Wang Yi said, that is full of uncertainties, we agree to send a clear message that it is important to firmly commit to an open world economy. It is important to steer economic globalization towards greater inclusiveness, broader shared benefits, and in a more sustainable way. And when asked, he went a step further, saying that any sensible politician will clearly recognize that if there is conflict between China and the United States, both sides will lose, and this is something that both sides cannot afford. Julie Bishop also urged China to consider joining the Trans-Pacific Partnership, which the U.S. abandoned last month.
The other 11 countries, and I can only speak on Australia's behalf, the other 11 countries have indicated a willingness to continue to pursue the principles behind the TPP, and there is always the opportunity for other nations who are prepared to meet those standards and embrace the principles of the TPP to join.
Wang Yi will also travel to New Zealand for a series of meetings with officials later in the week. Greg Navarro, CGTN, Sydney.
The Chinese foreign minister also said he believes as long as the sides abide by the pledges which have been made so far, their relations would see through the break-in period and would step onto a better development route.
China-U.S. relations have overcome all kinds of difficulties and have moved forward continuously. Right now, our two countries are committed to this new model of major country relations. Today, the two countries' engagement is very close, and our interests are also closely intertwined. That is to say that any sensible politician will clearly recognize that if China and the U.S. are in conflict, both will lose, and both sides cannot afford that.
And during a joint news conference, Wang said non-regional countries should respect the efforts of concerned parties of the South China Sea. He added that disputes should be solved on the basis of a milestone agreement inked between China and ASEAN in 2002, called the Declaration on the Conduct of Parties in the South China Sea, better known as the DOC.
在直接当事方都已经同意那么通过对话与协商
The parties directly concerned in the South China Sea disputes have agreed to work out on the basis of the provisions of the DOC. So for non-regional countries, what they need to do is to support such positive efforts, rather than the contrary. What I put emphasis on is what the new U.S. Defense Minister said a few days ago. He said it is important to give priority to diplomacy to resolve disputes on the Nansha Islands. That has been the consistent position of China, and I believe it is also the position of Australia.
具体争议应该通过外交手段来加以解决，这恰恰是中国的一贯的立场，恐怕也是澳大利亚朋友的立场。
Australia's long-standing position on the South China Sea has been consistent and clear, and Foreign Minister Wang and I have discussed it on numerous occasions. Australia doesn't take sides on competing territorial claims. We have a strong interest in unimpeded trade and regional peace, freedom of navigation, freedom of overflight, and respect for international law. That has been Australia's position and remains our position.